Here it goes again. I guess you can add that to...
It's gonna run like this.
Yep. No, that works. Gotta fucking really relax on this side. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and this is Regular Guy Training. So today we are going to talk about a pretty hyped pistol, and I don't know why. This is the M&P 2.0 Glock 19 size. So let's talk about this a bit. I have a pretty good relationship with the M&P and M&P style pistols. A lot of you guys may know I learned how to shoot pistol on one of the real old, like Gen 1 full-size M&P pistols. Right, I shot a bajillion rounds through that pistol, and there were a lot of people that were really enthusiastic about a Glock 19 sized M&P, and I was too. Notice I said was. So here's the thing, right? We're gonna go ahead and talk about this. We're gonna talk about its little features, how it differs from the older style M&Ps and that kind of stuff, and then I'm gonna give you my opinion on a lot of it. So first and foremost, the sights that are here are not stock. It's a set of Trijicon HDs, so no harm, no foul. These are good sights, but the 3-dot setup on stock M&P is not the worst either. I tend to not be a fan of 3-dot sight setups for a wide list of reasons, but they're serviceable and they work, and they got a good ledge on them, so you can run them one-handed off of stuff out of the box. It's ready to go and it's serviceable, right? They're both dovetailed in also, which I personally just prefer. So here's the thing, when we start looking at the pistol, besides the 2.0 and the size of the thing, we start to notice a couple of differences. Number one, there are front slide serrations, which, why are these there? Why are they this way? These front slide serrations don't do shit. They really don't. They hardly grip on anything, and if I'm gonna go do a press check with it, my thumb is situated in the cut, not on the serrations, because the serrations don't grip really on anything, right? So if you were gonna do front slide serrations, right, why not bring them up and scallop them, right? You'll notice that this is a theme of this review. Why? There are cuts in the frame here. I mean, I get it. There's a way to NSN the thing and serialize the thing, but you already had a different way to do that. That was perfectly serviceable before. But, you know, that's no harm, no foul. It's no big deal. Let's go ahead and talk about some other things, though. Let's talk about, there's a lot to talk about on this frame, honestly, but I'm going to start here. The grip texturing on the frame is highly inconsistent because it's aggressive and it's also not, right? And what it does, what it tends to do, in my opinion anyhow, is that, okay, it works here, it's grating, not in a bad way, it's grating, it's aggressive, all that stuff, it's great. But then when I'm up here, where a lot of my hands go, it's as slippy as it's always been, right? The problem with it being really inconsistent in its grip, and that it's nice and aggressive down here, but then it's just not at all, is that just to maintain where my thumbs are at, and this is mostly a brain issue, I totally understand, but just to maintain where my thumbs are at, I'm constantly thinking I have to grip the shit out of the gun. And me gripping the shit out of the gun adds to an issue or two, and that's this magazine release here. As far as this magazine release is concerned, it's large enough and sensitive enough to where barely touching it knocks the magazine out, and that's seen as a positive for a lot of guys unless you're left-handed working on this side. Now, you can switch it over, but here's what I mean by that. Yeah, similar to what happens to the shield.
Okay.
Yeah, because, like, you barely touch that thing and it comes out.
Okay.
Like, I'm pretty sure I could recreate it. All I gotta do is grip hard.
Do it then.
There it is.
Do it again. Let me get from the other side.
Okay. Held in place good that time. There it is again.
Yep. I don't like that.
It's just me compensating for this. It's weird because it's inconsistent to where it's really aggressive here, but it's not. And it's mostly my brain where I'm trying to keep my grip the same here, and it's slipping. So I increased the tension, and when I increase the tension, like I hit the button right there.
Ah. Okay.
So that's what that is.
So are you saying it's the gun or you? You know, people are gonna freak out.
The world's gonna say that it's me, and it is. I do the same thing to a shield because that thing bucks a little bit harder, and you naturally grip a little bit harder. It's one of the main reasons why I can't fuck around with it.
Okay.
I've done it to stock M&Ps before, but the positive thing is that you can switch that over. So I mean, in a way, it's a good way because if you barely touch it, it pops out. But if you're not shooting, you know, that handed.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm not shooting right-handed or wherever it's like oriented, and you grip hard, it's coming out.
Okay.
So. Versus
Yeah.
so let's talk about this.
Let's definitely talk about that.
You'll notice that if you have a loaded magazine and you try to do what M&Ps have done historically, and that's snap the magazine in there at a good angle, that it won't sling the slide forward. There was a deliberate design change to the 2.0 that prevents that, and that's this little spring-loaded dingus in here. Right. So let's take this guy apart and look at it really quick. Now, this little spring-loaded dingus, right, you can see it kind of pushing itself on this. It kind of keeps it secure. And the reason for that is basically to prevent that slide from going home on its own. I don't know specifically why that is the case. I believe it's to reduce wear on the lever itself. I also think it's bullshit because you can just replace the part. I have a real old review on the Gen 1 M&P where I did that like many times, like dry fire practice and the like. And the lever was starting to get wore out to where if I set it down, it would drop the slide forward, but all it requires is you to replace a part. And there was also a stupid number of rounds through that gun before it got to that point, right? Additionally, what it does is that when it's pushing up on this and preventing it from going down, it adds too much pressure to this side of the ambi lever and makes this about impossible to use. Okay, now for a gun that has quote-unquote ambidextrous controls on it, it's kind of shitty that you can't really use it as left-handed guy, because even without a magazine inserted, it's one of those deals where you have to push the shit out of it versus see what I'm saying? I mean, if I can do that like so, or if I can just switch over to this side and drop it without any problem at all, having a gun that has quote-unquote ambi controls, but because you have a spring-loaded dingus to impede a desirable function of the gun, my personal opinion, and then make this slide lock lever useless, I see that as a pretty serious misstep, rather a flaw in logic, my opinion, on the pistol itself. And for a lefty, what's the point of having it in the first place? The magazine release is something I can absolutely get over. On my core, I switched it over to the other side to prevent exactly that, and it's not even really a problem because, you know, I get it. You don't want to have to put a stupid amount of force into it. You want to just be able to basically barely touch it and it comes out. Okay, cool, I understand that. Switch it over, no big deal. But to make this lever about useless on this side because you want to reduce this, right? Because you want to reduce this going home on its own when people throw in, you know, loaded magazines is fucking dumb. On our Facebook page, one of our guys, Opie, decided that he was going to pull this dingus out, and now it does that, and this is actually useful now and all of that stuff, and that's great and all, but it's one of those deals where it's like, I absolutely hate doing work to pistols after I get them. I already am not a huge fan of the fact that if I get a new Glock or something, I gotta change the sights because the plastic sights are fucking worthless. What I don't want to have to do is now fuck around with stuff like this and mess with punches in order for it to actually make the gun work properly. And by work properly, I mean I can use this side, you know, because even if we're not left-handed and we're shooting right-handed, if you're coming out a left-hand side of a piece of cover and you've trained worth a damn, you should be able to switch over to that side and not have problems. You know, so that way a reload that we got to do should not be difficult. Okay, now, is this remedied by just doing this? Yes, it is, I get it, but at the same time, unless you work on this is basically a false set of controls. You know, so there you go. So look, it's difficult for me to sit here and say this because I've been a big fan of the M&P line of guns for a long time, right? I'm not saying that it's an unreliable pistol. I'm not saying that it is a non-quality pistol. I'm certainly not going to sit there and rate it with like Taurus or some shit like that, because if it's not a magazine button issue that obviously I can switch around or train out of, whatever, or a slide lock issue, which again I can train out of, or a stipple or whatever the fuck, right? If it's not those issues, it's fine, and it runs like a boss. It's reliable, it's done what M&Ps have always done, and it's run really well. It's just there's a lot of confusing shit being done to it, and it ruins it for me, in all honesty. I thought I would end up with one of these over my Gen 5 19, and as time goes on, I figured out, you know, how to alter my grip a little bit on that Gen 5 19 where I'm locking the thing to the slide on a regular basis, and I can't get this one to go now. And I've even on right-handed controls, I've never accidentally kicked a magazine out of a Glock 19 in my life, even if I'm gripping extra hard and trying to shoot fast. See what I'm saying? Which, by the way, if you're in a self-defense shoot, you're gonna grip hard and shoot extra fast. So if you're left-handed and you haven't switched this over, I would venture as far as to say if you use it as a carry gun, it's a life-threatening thing to not fuck around with this and switch it over. Okay? It really is that big of a deal to me, personally. But, I mean, so yeah, I mean, that's really all I got. It's a pistol that was ruined in my eyes, and, you know, just, oh well, keep looking. But, you know, with all of that being said, freaking, if you want to come out and get some training with us, even if you got one of these things, and if you're annoyed with this dingus that's in here, right, we can certainly teach you how to remove it. I may release a video on how to get rid of this thing. This isn't my pistol, it's my buddy Zach's, so if he wants to get rid of the dingus here, I'll put that on camera and then release it on full 30 because YouTube doesn't like tutorials for some reason. But there's that. Also, we still have a bajillion classes available as far as just how the schedule is going and all that. They're beginning to sell out at a pretty good rate, or there's not a lot of slots left for what we have on the calendar right now. More stuff is going to get released as time goes on. So if you want your slot for a class, I would absolutely get on that and get it rolling. You know, if you want to support us on Patreon, you can absolutely do that. You guys by now are aware of the Soldier program and how we take money from you guys and then we put it towards dudes that want to come out and take training with us. They get free food, flight, ammo, if we have to, guns, gear, all that stuff. And they do it on your dime. That's pretty much where that is going. And the extra that's left over goes towards bullets for stuff like this. So there's that. If you want to donate to us and get something out of it, we have a $35 a month program where if you sign up to that, you get to train with us for as long and often as you want, for as long as you're signed up to that program. We have guys that abuse the shit out of this, and that's what it's designed for. If you want to chat it up or ask questions and whatnot on Facebook, I got a link in the description also for that whole chat group. a lot of questions, especially new guy questions, get answered there every day. So, you know, simple as that. But, you know, I hate doing these reviews, especially when it's a pistol that I was hyped for, that I wanted to work really well, and that I wanted to do. I wanted this to be the replacement for my Glock 19, but it's just not going to happen. Alright, so, you know, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments section below. If you agree with me, do the same, but that's all I got. So, remember guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.